What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sports Gambling Daily. My name's Jared, and I got my boy Chase from the NYC. What's up, Chase?
Not much, my man. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Thanks for joining the program. We are going to jump into some UFC action, but before we get into that, hey, good job with the College World Series. You've been killing it. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on with the College World Series.
Yeah. So we've got 5 teams left. As of right now, Louisville is playing Mississippi State. So you guys will know that we're recording this video Thursday night. Mississippi State's leading 3-0. So after this game, we will have 4 teams left. And we're really getting down to the end of it. So far, just as I sort of predicted, not to my own horn. But I think every game except for one has gone under. And there's been a lot of good value on some dogs. I don't think that Vegas has been putting these lines exactly where they should be.
Mm-hmm.
And these totals are consistently just too high. It doesn't matter if teams are putting out a struggling pitcher. The ballpark's just really helping them. It's a big ballpark. Lots of pop flies, lots of ground balls, and the average total, I think, has been about 4 or 5 runs per game. So that's telling.
I mean, that tells you right there. This man knows what he's talking about. He's been crushing the College World Series. So make sure you give him a follow on Twitter and on Instagram. Chase, tell them where they can find you at.
Yeah, so my Twitter, my Instagram, same handle. It's Chase Loveit, Loveit. What do we love, Jared? We love winning.
That's right. We love winnings. And we're going to get into some winners here in the UFC. Let's go ahead and jump into this card. We're going to start off with the prelims, Chase. We got Andre Ewell taking on Dos Santos. So we got Ewell coming in at 14-5, Dos Santos 20-7. I mean, what do you see here? You got Ewell with a 5-inch reach advantage on Dos Santos. Do you see any advantage here in this matchup?
So, this line opens up. Ewell started at minus 230 with Santos at plus 190. Mm-hmm. We're coming into this fight at, basically even money. Last I checked, it was minus 115 to both sides. And the public absolutely hammered Dos Santos, and, that was for good reason. This fight's pretty simple. It's the classic, you've got a striker versus a grappler. As you mentioned, Ewell has a really long reach. Mm-hmm. 6-inch height advantage, 5-inch reach advantage. He's a great point striker. He's really good at moving in and out of the pocket, so he's not just in there putting on pressure. He also is able to get out. And if the fight stays on the feet, he'll win. Here's the problem. He has awful, awful takedown defense. Santos has shown the ability to submit guys. He should bring the fight to the ground and win. It's not, a fight to necessarily watch closely. And to be honest, neither of these guys should really be in the UFC. That's about what I have to think about that.
So basically, if Dos Santos can close the gap, get him on the ground, it should be over, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those fights that you'll know in the first round if one or the other is going to win. Typically when you have the striker versus the grappler ends up winning out. It's just a matchup advantage. Mm-hmm. Which is what makes UFC so interesting to bet on, is, the way that people match up stylistically versus each other. And, in this case, and, in general, my personal opinion is I'm always going to go with the guy who gets in and throws the guy down.
Okay. Well, let's move on. Talking about style and, matchup, we have Deron Winn taking on Eric Spicely. Now, the thing that jumps out in this middleweight bout is Deron Winn 5.5 feet versus a 6'1" man. You got Deron Winn. He's undefeated, 5-0. Eric Spicely 12-4. Now I got the opening line or the current line at minus 285 for the short guy. I mean, usually you see a shorty and a biggie. I mean, I would think that the bigger man would be able to manhandle. What do you think here?
Yeah, so, a little bit about Deron Winn for those of you who aren't familiar with the UFC. So Deron Winn, he's basically Daniel Cormier's mentee. Daniel Cormier is obviously the best pound-for-pound fighter right now. Actually, I'm not sure if Cejudo just overtook him, but he is, the heavyweight champion right now. Okay. This is Deron Winn's first fight in the UFC. Wynn's had 3 opponents so far, but they've all been cut. Spicely went 2-4 in the UFC. Then he got cut himself, and he's now won his last 2 fights, both by TKO. So he's coming in, with a little bit of momentum. As you mentioned, Deron Wynn is 5'5", Spicely 6'1". The difference is huge. But here's one thing I want to say. So Deron Wynn is moving down. He just fought at 205. He's now fighting at 185, so that's a 20-pound difference, pretty substantial. And I think that the fact that he's so low to the ground, it actually allows him to use his leverage.
Sure. Yeah.
He's a great striker for his size. He's almost like a mini Daniel Cormier. They fight very similarly. This is a fight, I probably wouldn't bet it, but I think, Deron Wynn can definitely win. This wasn't the fight that the UFC wanted, as I mentioned. Wynn's first 3 opponents were cut. If Deron Wynn does well, he's definitely a guy to look at in the future, as, just being 5'5", he's probably going to get some nice dog money in some future bouts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be rooting for the short guy here. I mean, short guys unite. Give me Deron Wynn. I mean, I love that. I love this little story here. Short guy versus the big guy. Let's go.
Absolutely.
All right, hey, let's move on to a women's flyweight matchup. You have Lipsky taking on Molly McCann. So 11-4, Lipsky. Molly McCann 8-2. I don't see any. I mean, I guess Lipsky has a reach advantage, but not by a lot, a couple inches. And I have the current line at Lipsky minus 275 and plus 215 for Molly McCann. Is there anything we should know about in this matchup that we can take advantage of?
Yeah, so Ariane Lipsky was the hype show of the year in the UFC community. Coming into her first fight, and then she got absolutely manhandled by Joanne Calderwood, who in her own right, she is a top 10 fighter. But, she was taking down Lipsky the whole fight. It was never even a match. This fight, it opens at Lipsky minus 145. I think you just mentioned that it's now at minus 275.
That's correct.
This is her fight back. It's a redemption fight. Personally, I think Lipsky should probably be in, maybe the minus 200 to 220 range. And, just trying to think what else I can say about this fight. McCann, she doesn't have the best takedown. And that's, what Joanne Calderwood was able to do to Lipsky, was just take her down and, beat her. And to be honest, I don't love either of these fighters. McCann, she's got decent striking. Lipsky, we don't really know how good she is, right? Because she came into her last fight. She got absolutely manhandled. And so we don't really know what Lipsky can do in the UFC right now, just because she got outmatched that badly in her first fight. I expect Lipsky to win. I don't think McCann can take her down, which is obviously a weakness of hers. But, we all, in the UFC community, we all bet her at minus 190 when she fought against Calderwood at UFC ESPN +1. And honestly, I'm probably just going to wait this one out. Again, Lipsky should win. He's 0-1 in the UFC, but, let's wait to see what happens in this fight. And I probably wouldn't touch it personally, just considering the price that it's at right now.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, if you can't find an advantage on either side, so to speak, then it's good to set it out. I mean, especially if you think she's overvalued at minus 275 when you think she should be sitting around minus 200.
Absolutely.
We can just move on. So Alan Crowder, this is going to be a fun fight here. This is a heavyweight fight. You got Alan Crowder versus, I think I'm saying this right, Jahinzo Rosenstruck.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Good
so,
enough.
I mean, you got these are some big guys here. You got 245 pounds for Crowder. You got the other guy at 242. I mean, this is going to be a slug. I would imagine like a slugfest.
Yeah. Everyone always has to, like watching heavyweights go in there and throw some hands. There's nothing more excited than that, especially in an octagon. Where am I going to start with this? So, first of all, last time we saw Crowder, the fight ended with the illegal knee by Greg Hardy, and now he's back. Last I checked, he was a plus 185 dog. And maybe the dog money here, it might be nice. Roz is good. The last time we saw him, he had a really gnarly knockout versus Albini. And what we saw versus Crowder, in that fight with Greg Hardy before the illegal knee, I liked. He's a good chin, can take people down.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the flip with Roz, he's a striker at heart, and if Crowder can take him down, maybe he can win. We've seen Crowder take advantage of people's weaknesses in the past. But Roz is a great striker. He's got absolute KO power.
Mm-hmm.
But Albini took him down before that fight ended, and I think that if Crowder can take him down, same thing. He can win the fight. We're going back to the classic striker versus grappler. If you do go with the dog money here on Crowder, similarly, this is a bet where honestly in the first minute you're going to know if this hits. If Roz is just up in his face throwing punches, he's going to win. But there might be some value on Crowder as a dog here. And here's the thing, Crowder he's not the best wrestler, and he's got to win by taking down Roz. Roz is inexperienced. Yes, he's 7-0. But Crowder can take advantage. But we'll really see how this plays out. But I do like the dog money in this one.
All right, so Crowder. So that means Roz getting his first loss of his career in this matchup. All right, let's see here. Next up, we got Matt. Let's see here, Matt Wyman versus Luis Pena.
Yep.
This should be a good matchup. You got Wyman plus 290, Pena minus 380 in this matchup. So the books are favoring Pena by a lot.
Yeah.
What do you see here? I mean, you got Wyman. He's obviously 10 years older than Pena. And Pena has the reach advantage. This seems like a shoe-in for the younger guy.
Yeah, so, a little bit more about this fight. This is Wyman's first fight back in 4 years. It's not that Wyman is a bad fighter. It's just that it's been 4 years. Pena trains out of AKA, that is, the American Kickboxing Academy, which is one of the best gyms in the world. He's a great striker. And, this is a little bit of an oxymoron, I guess, but AKA probably has one of the best wrestling programs in MMA. We're expecting to see improvements from Pena since, his last fights, especially, in the wrestling area. But again, we haven't seen Lyman fight in 4 years, which means we don't know who he is,
Right.
Pena's still young. He missed weight. He tried to go down to 145, so he moved back up to 155. And, that's really all I have to say about this. We have no idea who Matt Wyman is. That's my only opinion on the fight.
So, I mean, would the safe bet be Pena, or was this something you just would lay off altogether?
I think the safe bet is to not touch it, because at that point, when you're paying like minus 365, what happens if Matt Wyman comes out there and he's throwing hands?
Sure.
You just have no idea. And there's so many other bets on the card. Why take a chance? Something that you're not totally sure of. And we can always bet any other sport the next day. We can bet the UFC card the next week. Why push it? If you don't have to.
Okay, well, let's move on to this preliminary fight, the women's strawweight division. You got Ashley Yoder taking on Siri Condo.
Yep.
This looks like an interesting matchup. You got Ashley. They're both like basically even. You got Ashley at minus 120. You got Condo at minus 110. They're about the same age. Yoder has a 3-inch reach advantage here, but that's about it. She's got, from what I see here, 10 professional fights. She's 6-4, so not too successful. Should she even be in the UFC? I don't know, maybe. But what do you think here? Do you think Yoder gets the job done, or is this Condo's show?
Yeah, it's funny because the first thing you said about it when you looked at the two women was you said, "Oh, this might be interesting." I'll tell you right now, this might be one of the most boring fights on the card. So here's the thing. It's a fight that shouldn't be on the UFC card. You pointed it out yourself. Neither are that good at anything. So Yoder, she did actually win her last fight. And she should probably take down Condo and win the fight. But same thing. This is a fight that I'm never actually betting.
So is this something the UFC they're just trying to build one of these girls up and to maybe become punching bag for maybe a better person in the division just to have. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like these two should even be in the league.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Dana White's a great businessman. He obviously knows what he's doing, so I'm not going to go and doubt him.
Sure.
And he needs cards on the fight. So here are two girls that want to fight each other. So,
yeah.
Why not let him go out and throw hands? Who am I to say they should be in, another fighting division?
Yeah, that's true. More power to him. All right, so this is the last matchup on the preliminary card. You got Dan Ige versus Kevin Aguilar.
Yes.
What do you see? I mean, both these guys have impressive records. Dan has a 11-2 record. Kevin's got a 17-1 record.
Yep.
I mean, this one in featherweight division. I mean, what do you see here? We got Ige plus 130, Kevin minus 160.
Yeah, so this is a fight that, in the same sense that Yoder versus Condo is a fight where you should go to the bathroom or do your laundry or something. Ige versus Aguilar is a fight I wouldn't want to miss. Aguilar, he is, an LFA product. And we loved what he showed us in his last fight versus Enrique. That's the ability to stuff the takedown and strike really well. So, there are some people, who were able to not get taken down, but then they sort of go neutral after that. There's a little bit of a grazing period.
Mm-hmm.
What we saw from Aguilar was, when he was stuffing the takedown, he was throwing hands right back. And that's something you really like in a guy. You've got Dan Ige on the other side. He's a dude who's looking for the takedown. And Aguilar, he's got great takedown defense and, then throws strikes that look great in the judge's eyes. Exactly what I just said.
Right.
I like Dan Ige. I think he's a great wrestler. But, from what we've seen from what I've seen from watching Aguilar, I think he's a guy who's absolutely destined for greatness. I see some value there at Aguilar. I took him at minus 150. So, obviously he's moving as a bigger underdog right now.
Yeah, you got a little bit of value there. All right, Kevin Aguilar. All right, let's go on to the next one. So this is going to be in the main card. You got Kevin Holland taking on DiCirico.
Yes.
Let's see here. You get the middleweight division. Kevin Holland, 26 years old. He's got the reach advantage. He's got the height advantage. Everything seems to be in his favor here. He's minus 225, where DiCirico is plus 175.
Yeah. So here's what I think about this fight. So Alessio is kind of underrated in my opinion. He's a good striker. He can work on his wrestling. What I think of Kevin Holland. Holland is a really talented fighter. He's good on the ground. He's got great striking. But here's the thing, and everyone knows this in the UFC community. He has horrible fight IQ. There's such a thing in UFC as just not being a smart fighter. And some other things about Holland. He's funny. He talks in the ring. But to be honest with you, the dude's a joke. If Kevin Holland fought a good fight, it would be close. But we have no idea, which Holland's going to show up. It's a great fight to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a great fight to bet. We can't trust Kevin Holland. I expect the fight to stay on the feet. And Kevin Holland is probably the more talented guy, but I will probably never touch Kevin Holland in the ring.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, especially if he's cocky and, he's doing some things, just like if you remember Anderson Silva got clipped when he was doing that weave and, to Lyman and, got knocked out. So, yeah. All right. So you don't want to mess with that one. I don't blame you. So we got, let's see here, Andrea Lee versus Montana De La Rosa, women flyweight division.
Yeah.
De La Rosa, the younger girl. And, what do you think here?
Yeah, am I allowed to curse on your channel or do I have to keep
bring it on?
So Andrea Lee she's really fucking good, man.
Oh, okay.
She's a great striker. She's got great takedown defense, and I'm still probably gonna bet Montana De La Rosa.
What?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
So
I mean, you're getting plus money on Montana.
yeah.
So if she's so good, why would you take Montana in this
Yeah.
situation?
So, what we saw versus Lee and why I'm saying she's such a good fighter,
Mm-hmm.
in her last fight versus Smith, she absolutely stuffed the takedown. But, here you have to remember who the source is, right? I said it the first fight. I'm a guy where, I am going to go with the wrestler. I have a huge wrestling bias. I'm always going to bet the wrestlers. And, this fight, it might be mostly a lean on my part. From everything we've seen from Andrea Lee, she's got great takedown defense. And, from De La Rosa, she just bodied Nadia Kassim, who's, a good fighter. For some reason, my head's just saying I think De La Rosa gets a submission. And I think she's good enough to submit Andrea Lee. Again, this fight in particular, I'm really going against what the UFC community thinks. But in my opinion, I see plus money on De La Rosa, and I like it. I think there was a good shot that she's able to get in there and take Andrea Lee down.
All right. Hey, plus money dog there. Let's do it. We'll take it. All right. So we're about to get into the final three matchups of this card. Now, before we go any further, I want I would implore you guys to follow Chase on Twitter and on Instagram. So before we get into the final three or final three matchups of Fight Night 154, Chase, let them know what your Instagram and Twitter is.
Appreciate it, Jared. Yeah. So again, Instagram and Twitter, Chase Loveit, Lovit. What do we love? We love winning.
Wins.
We love winning.
That's right. All right, let's win these next three here. You got Brian Barbarina taking on Randy Brown.
Yeah.
So I see a line here at minus 275 for Barbarina, plus 215 for Randy Brown. Do you see any value here in Brown at that good price of 215?
It's possible that I might see value in Brown.
Oh shit!
You don't get more opposite fighters than Barbarina versus Brown.
Okay.
Barbarina is not very athletic. He is a powerful, powerful striker. He's not very quick, and he has an absolute chin on him. I mean, this guy, he doesn't go down. And then you've got Randy Brown on the other side. Randy Brown is really athletic. He has a terrible chin. He's not a great striker. He's a good wrestler.
Okay.
I will say this. People are overestimating Brian Barbarina right now because of the last fight that he had with Vicente De Luque, which was about 2 months ago now. It wasn't long ago. Barbarina came into that fight. He was like a minus 1,400 underdog, and he went toe-to-toe, just trading absolute blows with De Luque. If you haven't seen that fight, you absolutely have to watch it. It's one of the most exciting UFC fights I've probably ever seen. But yeah, Barbarina has shown weaknesses in fights versus wrestlers in the past. We watched him fight Covington. We watched him fight Edwards. And yes, they're both much better wrestlers than Randy Brown. But this line is really off. His takedown defense, it isn't awful, but something here, it's kind of screaming Randy Brown. Barbarina, he's overvalued, and Randy Brown has a clear path to victory. I think that Randy Brown's strengths play into Barbarina's weaknesses. But in the same coin, Barbarina's strengths obviously play into Randy Brown's weaknesses as well. This is a fight where Brian Barbarina can come in and knock the guy out in 45 seconds. As I said, Randy Brown, he doesn't have a great chin, and Brian Barbarina can just punch him down. But as I said, I like the wrestlers versus the fighters any day of the week, Monday to Sunday. It's my personal bias. And, that's going to influence, the types of people who I'm going to take in these cards. So, for that reason, I see some value on Randy Brown.
All right. Well, hey, this guy's a smart guy. He went to Vanderbilt. Look at the jersey. So he knows what he's talking about.
Appreciate it.
All right. Let's go on to the next. We got the co-main event. You got John Lineker taking on Rob Font. Let's see here. Rob Font plus 170 in this bantamweight co-main event. I see there's an advantage here. 71.5 reach advantage as opposed to 67 for John Lineker.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing here?
Yeah, I mean, so look, they fought pretty recently. I think 3 years ago they fought. And Lineker won that fight, and not much has changed between the two guys since then. Lineker is one of the best fighters to watch in the UFC. So I'm super excited about this fight, and Fawn's fun to watch too. So all the merrier. We're gonna see two guys that absolutely love to throw fists. Lineker, pound for pounds, at 135, he probably has the most power of any striker. He hits like a truck at that size, and probably gonna win the fight. He's coming off a loss to Corey Sandhagen, which was a really close fight. And the difference between Sandhagen, who Lineker just fought, and Rob Font, the Lineker is he's much more in and out of the pocket, right? He's not just going to stay in there and throw hands. He was getting in there, moving out, getting in there, moving out. And, he was really able to use his reach advantage. Lineker's a guy in this division. He's almost always going to be at a reach disadvantage. And so, if you're able to take advantage of your reach, you can beat him. But, I don't think Font's going to move in and out of the pocket as much. And if he stays in the pocket, he's just going to get rocked. There's a chance he rocks a little bit back. But here's the thing. Lineker, for a guy who gets in there and he throws hands, he's never been knocked out. Never. I think he's got 42 fights or something like that. I don't think he's ever been knocked out.
Yeah, 31-9 for Lineker. That's amazing.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty confident the guy's never been knocked out.
Okay.
If they're going punch for punch, I'll put my money on Lineker to knock him out. When they fought 3 years ago, it was a very clear 30-27. So basically that means that Lineker won every round. None of the rounds were, absolute blowouts, but none of the rounds were anything close. I expect, a similar result tonight or on Saturday.
All right. Let's go on to the main event. You got Moicano versus the Korean Zombie, and now Moicano is minus 200. Korean Zombie plus 160. Do you see that? Are you surprised by that line? The Korean Zombie with the dog money here.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by the line, but here's what I will say. Moicano just lost to Jose Aldo, and it's a tough fight to lose. And I really think that he lost a piece of himself there. That's not to say that, Korean Zombie, losing to Rodriguez, he didn't, lose a piece of himself there. That was the craziest finish ever. If you guys are watching this video and you've never seen UFC before, please just Google Korean Zombie versus Rodriguez finish. It is an upside down elbow to the face in the final second. Jeez. And if that didn't happen, Korean Zombie was probably going to win that fight. Both these guys are absolute strikers. And, there's really two ways to bet this fight, right? You can bet Moicano wins by decision. He's an incredibly crisp striker. He moves in and out of the pocket really well. So is Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie is a guy, he hits with power. He gets in there, he mixes it up. And he's got a very underrated submission game. It's way better than people give him credit for. And he's not actually terrible, as a wrestler. Korean Zombie, he gets in brawls, and so does Moicano. But there's a clear contrast in styles here. So you've got Korean Zombie, who wants to brawl in your face and have a dirty fight. And then you have Moicano, who wants to sit back, patiently strike, put a hand or two in, wait to attack. He's very, very methodical.
Yeah.
But again, Moicano here is coming off of his first TKO loss. And as I mentioned a little earlier, when a fighter comes off a loss like that, it can really mess him up. We don't, necessarily know where his head's at. We don't know where Korean Zombie's head's at either, but he's got more experience. We think when a fighter fights in your face the way that Korean Zombie does, after taking a loss that Moicano just had, he could be a little bit overwhelmed. I could see something like, Cejudo versus Moraes was either last weekend or 2 weekends ago was, the headline of a card. And in that fight, we saw Moraes just absolutely going after Cejudo for the first round and a half. Cejudo was patient, and then, round in, 2 rounds in, Moraes got tired, and Cejudo took advantage, right? We could see something like that with Moicano against Korean Zombie, with Moicano coming in and taking advantage at the end. But yeah, I definitely see value on Korean Zombie, just being that he is the more inexperienced fighter, and I'm not sure we're going to get the same Moicano we had before the Jose Aldo fight. One thing I will say, I know that you were about to chime in. But one thing that I do want to say, you know, I am fairly contrarian on this card.
Mm-hmm.
A number of my picks are against what the UFC community was picking. I'm usually a favorite guy. I don't, bet on the contrarian. I don't think, there's definitely value in there when, you're dealing with a sport like baseball or football or the NBA that has 20 different variables, right? But UFC, it's a one-on-one sport. Just like tennis, UFC is a one-on-one sport. And so, there's not that much value in the contrarian model. However, on this card, it just happens that, I like some of the dogs, mostly for the fact that I like wrestlers, and a lot of dogs are wrestlers.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, if there's value to be had, let's take advantage of the value. And I agree that when you have wrestlers, or even Brazilian jiu-jitsu experts, I feel like they always have an advantage over strikers, especially, if you can close the gap, get them on the ground, especially if the striker. I mean, everybody in the UFC nowadays has a takedown game or has a ground game, so to speak. But it's always going to favor the wrestlers or the people that are on the ground, at least in my opinion. I mean, that's really all I can say about that. So,
yeah.
All right. Hey. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, just, some final comments. So, from everything I said about this card there's a couple of things that I'm absolutely not touching. Traditionally on a UFC card, I'll maybe put in 8 to 10 units. It just so happens that I've got 15 units on this card. So if you want my actual card, you should definitely check me out on Twitter or Instagram and hit me up in my DMs. I'd be happy to, give you the breakdown, tell you exactly how much, I've got on every guy, and hit me on Twitter if you want that. I'd love to get some more people interested in UFC. Personally, I've only been following UFC for about a year. It's something that one of my good friends, he got me into, and ever since then, I just fell in love. It's really easy to keep track of because it's not like baseball when they're playing every week. It's the football style. They fight on Saturdays. Sometimes they have Saturdays off. Some cards are shorter than others. And it's just a pretty easy thing to keep track of. And, it's a great thing to, sit down with a couple of friends and drink a couple of beers.
Yeah.
If you're not doing anything on Saturday, I highly recommend, chiming into UFC, especially, these later fights, Moicano versus Korean Zombie, Lineker versus Font, Barbarina versus Brown. These are all going to be great fights. And I would highly recommend it. If you've never seen UFC before, definitely give it a watch this Saturday.
All right. That'll do it, man. UFC 154 from Greenville, South Carolina. South Carolina is where I came from. I didn't grow up in Greenville, but I know it pretty well. So, hey, I'm excited for the fight. I'm definitely going to watch it, and I'll definitely get up with you after the fight, and we'll break down where we went wrong and where we went right. And then, hey, everybody follow this man, Chris Loveit, on Instagram and Twitter. Hey, you're definitely missing out on some value if you don't. Also, hey, join the Discord real quick. I'm telling y'all, join the Discord. We have almost 900 people in there right now sharing picks, plays, parlays. I'll leave a link in the description down below so you can jump in and you can sweat all this action with everyone else in there. And possibly Chris might be in there during the fight too. He's in. You bounce in there from time to time.
Every now and then when I can pop in, I'm definitely a busy man, but I love sharing the love. I love everyone who's in there. Not just the guys who Joe and Peyton, but we've got awesome people in the Discord. I don't want to say a couple names because I know if I name like 10 people, there's gonna be 30 people who are like, yo, like,
why did you name?
God, like, what the heck, man? Like, what's your problem? So I can't say anyone more than, obviously Peyton and Joe are in there. They're great, but, that whole community is awesome. I mean, we're just one big, happy family. Sometimes we win together, sometimes we lose together. That's why it's gambling and not winning. And it's way more fun to bet with other people than to bet by yourself.
That's right. All right. Well, that'll wrap it up, Chase, and we will do this again in the future. Thank you so much for being part of the program today.
Appreciate it, Jared. Thank you so much.
All right. Good luck to you. And good luck to me. Good luck to all of us. We'll see you later. Peace.
Bye.